2 months ago, Mohd Yunus, the interim advisor of the Bangladeshi government, which he himself heads, was talking about the landlocked northeastern states of India. And there were people in his government who were talking about the chicken necks through which India could be militarily forced. But 2 months is a very long time in geopolitics. While India got busy in Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor, the Bangladeshi army was also busy taking on Mohd Yunus. And by the way, Hemant Biswa Sharma, the Chief Minister of Assam, has now displayed that, let alone one, Bangladesh has two chicken necks. So they themselves are in a bit of trouble that way if they want to take on India militarily and keep talking about chicken necks. But today, the topic of our discussion is not the chicken neck, which is basically a fantasy of the Bangladeshi government that they could force India militarily through that. They still are not that power, nowhere even close to doing that. But we are focusing on Bangladesh and what is going on in Bangladesh itself. Now, General Wakeruzzaman, the chief of the Bangladeshi army, he had a darbar last week, which brought all available officers in combat. Mind you, the officers were in combat uniform. Even those officers who were not in station joined through video conferencing, even the ones serving on United Nations missions. So the conference, which was held at Dhaka's Sena Prangon, which is a sort of military headquarters for the Bangladeshi army, he said, and he was very categorically about it, that the Bangladesh interim government will have to hold elections latest by the end of this year. He was very clear about it, because you must understand that Mohd Yunus has basically been postponing elections ever since he took over power through a soft coup after the 5th August 2024 violence, which forced Sheikh Hasina to flee the country. So now it appears that the patience of the Bangladeshi army is running thin. Because remember those days when General Wakeruzzaman, he has said that he was very categorical that the interim government, he had a press conference where he said that the interim government was being installed to hold a free, fair and independent elections in Bangladesh. That has not happened. We are not even close to something of that sort happening. So General Wakar, with his sense of history, because the past military dictators, whoever basically took over in a coup, did not end up very well. They met very violent ends. So he had not taken over power. So the Bangladeshi army had taken on three basic and primary tasks in Bangladesh, which was restoring democracy, maintaining stability in the country, and maintaining and upholding Bangladeshi army's professional standards. Because Bangladeshi army, despite what goes on in the country, is a very professional army, and it is one of the biggest contributors to UN missions across the world. Incidentally, it also brings a lot of foreign exchange, but that is besides the point. So what happened? He said that, and General Wakar has been saying recently that the Bangladeshi army cannot be expected to keep doing the policing job relentlessly, and he wants the army back in the barracks where they can also train for future challenges. He suspects, General Wakar also suspects, that Mohd Yunus, he is basically trying to remove General Wakar from the post of the chief of the army, using the street power which he has at his disposal, along with external machinations, the support from external factors. So this conference at Sena Prangon, General Wakar had both the Air Force and the Navy chief by his sides, which basically showed that the armed forces of Bangladesh were united, despite what the interim government has been doing and using certain officers, which we'll come to later, to disrupt the unity and discipline of the Bangladeshi military. They are still united. And they also conveyed, the three chiefs also conveyed very firm messages. One, that they will no longer tolerate being kept in the dark about important national matters related to security, defense, and sovereignty of the country. And military will no longer tolerate chaos and anarchy, which was basically a hint at the street agitations with Yunus resorts to whenever he is in trouble. And third was, obviously, we talked about it, holding elections by the end of this year. When he was talking of the security issues, Bangladeshi army not tolerating, compromising the security of Bangladesh, what he was basically referring to was the Chittagong to Rakhine corridor, which is in the news recently, which Yunus's government, the interim government, had said was the idea was to create a humanitarian corridor for supplies to Myanmar, which is having a civil war. They were suspecting, General Wakar and the Bangladeshi army suspects that this corridor will be used by the US army to supply arms and ammunitions to the rebel groups in Myanmar, keep Myanmar on the boil, and keep the Chinese forces at bay, because the Myanmar government is also providing a land to sea access to the Chinese government and the Chinese army. So the idea people suspect is the US army will come in through the humanitarian corridor under the facade of the United Nations and then basically stir trouble, as they have a tendency of doing around the world. He used very strong words about it, General Wakar. He called it a bloody corridor. Now it's very usual for the army to use, the senior army officers to use words like a bloody corridor, but to say that in public, in a press conference and referring to the US interference indirectly was a big and a very risky thing to do for General Wakar. Now he is very clear that he does not want Bangladesh to be dragged into the Myanmar civil war, and he said, General Wakar, I am quoting him, the Bangladesh army will never be involved in any activity that is harmful to sovereignty, nor will anyone be allowed to do so. He goes on to say, national interest must come in first, and any action, whatever is being done, must be guided by political consensus. So this is where the election thing comes in. Senior US diplomats who are lobbying for the corridor have met him recently after the talk, but it is very clear that as of now, General Wakeruzzaman has stood his ground. He is not going to change his stand. The Bangladeshi leading political parties, for whatever they are worth in front of the Islamists, the mob which Yunus has gathered with him, the Awami League, which has since been banned, but it still has a voice internationally, and the Bangladeshi Nationalist Party, which was initially part of the Yunus movement to overthrow Sheikh Hasina, but has since been gradually being sidelined, and the left parties have also opposed the Rakhine corridor, which is, as I told you, which is being seen as the American ploy to block the Chinese access and have a power game of their own in this region of the world. The media has also joined in, because Bangladesh till now has a free media. So the Dhaka Tribune, I'm quoting him, wrote about the Rakhine corridor. There are fears that humanitarian aid could be used as a pretext for foreign influence, and this corridor could serve as a channel for military logistics or intelligence. So very, very firm words and a lot of suspicion being raised all around. But Mohd Yunus seems to be oblivious to all these apprehensions. The Bangladeshi Nationalist Party and its chairman Tariq Rahman, they have also vehemently opposed this corridor and the government's decision to have this corridor. Now he said in a video message, I'm quoting him again, the interim government's decision to allow the corridor was undemocratic and had been taken while the public and the political parties were in the dark. The interests of the people of the country must be ensured, not those of foreign nations. All these considerations should be made by a democratically elected government, parliament, which represents the will of the people. So this all goes to show that Yunus is isolated. His gang of the Islamists, the students are isolated on this issue, and Rakhine corridor is being basically understood for it what it could actually turn out to be, a very big nuisance for Bangladesh and a direct threat to its sovereignty and integrity. Now, following General Wakeruzzaman's warning, the National Security Advisor, Khalilur Rahman, now he is one more individual in the story. It is said that he is not even a Bangladeshi national, but he is appointed a few weeks ago. And basically the idea is to appoint him, and through him comes the US influence, which cuts down the Bangladeshi army, which is not willing to bend before Yunus's government, to size. So he said that the UN only asked for permission, and we were talking of the Bangladeshi people and the Burmese people and just trying to help out. There is nothing untoward, there is nothing sinister about it. Now all these people protesting about it, nothing sinister about it, very difficult to understand and hard to understand. Now I'll just take a bit of digress. I'll digress into what exactly this Rakhine thing is. What is this Rakhine corridor? So this Rakhine is the westernmost province of Myanmar, and there if you look at the map, the eastern boundary of Bangladesh and the western boundary, they coincide. So Chattogram province, the Chattogram state, and the Rakhine, the Chattogram of Bangladesh and Rakhine state of Burma, their neighbors. Now, the Arakan National Army out there, this is the ethnically armed organizations, a number of EAOs in Myanmar who are fighting the military junta for the rights of their people. Now, the Arakan National Army, which is the main army in Rakhine, is fighting the military junta which had seized power in 2021. Now, this is very ironical that the US has sanctioned Myanmar for its coup. It has sanctioned the military junta. It has sanctioned Myanmar per se because of the military coup. And on the other hand, it seems to be supporting the Mohd Yunus interim government, which itself had seized power through a soft coup by violently driving away a democratically elected government of Sheikh Hasina. Now we have to take democracy as any people wish that to be. You cannot impose your wish or will of democracy or how it should be. It might have been a very unfair election, but Sheikh Hasina was a democratically elected government. Now the contrast is that one government gets supported, the other gets sanctioned. But that is how geopolitics is. Now Rakhine has a population of around 3 million people, of which 60% are Buddhists and 35% are Rohingya Muslims. The Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army represents the Rohingyas of the Rakhine state, which basically has been silent for some time now. Apart from the occasional killing of Hindus living in isolated places, they have not done much to note of. It is headed by a Pakistani national, and the ARSA, as it is known, has very close ties with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Now, which is very natural also. Now, what sets the Arakan National Army, who are basically the Buddhists, is that they have unified a very diverse group of people into one cause of having an autonomous or a sovereign state of Arakan. That is their ultimate aim. It has a historical a story of struggle for independence, which falls back to 1784, when the Marakyu kingdom fell to a Burmese invasion, 1784. So this has been going on in bits and pieces since then. Now they have made innumerable attempts to break away from the Burmese and the British control historically. Now it's the Myanmarese government. Now we come back to Bangladesh. Another sore point between Mohd Yunus and General Wakeruzzaman is the appointment. I told you, Khalilur Rahman. He is a very shady sort of a person, very different figure. And this position was basically created to control Wakeruzzaman, which we already talked about. Now Khalilur Rahman has suddenly backed out and saying that there is no military dimension to the whole corridor. And this is not the only sticking point between the army and the unit government. The other is the promotion of Lieutenant General Kamrul Hassan. He is the principal staff officer of the Armed Forces Division in the Prime Minister's office. he's being seen as a possible replacement. Now, the people in Bangladesh, the watchers of Bangladesh say that he's being groomed, he's being readied for the day when Mohd Yunus removes Wakeruzzaman and Kamrul Hassan takes over. Now, since the Prime Minister is not there, Kamrul Hassan is reporting to Mohd Yunus, and he has made several trips, including one to Pakistan. You remember the Pakistani ISI officials and coming to the Sylhet area, doing a reconnaissance sort of stuff, which was reported around 3-4 months back. Kamrul Hassan was the one who was doing it, basically managing it and liaising with the Pakistani army. Now, what has happened that Wakeruzzaman has been keeping a very close watch on Kamrul Hassan, who has linked to the Islamist groups also. And this week, when he reached out to the US without any prior clearance from the army chief, that is what has broken the camel's back, I would say, because Zaman now knows that his time is limited. He has to take firm control, or Yunus could indulge in yet another coup, because that is somehow the character of the politics out there. Yunus seeing all this and Wakeruzzaman coming out very strongly along with the whole army, although we must also appreciate that the fact that the middle level of the Bangladeshi army is hugely radicalized, but even then it is a professional army. So seeing all this, Yunus played the no alternative card, saying that since the political parties are not getting together for reforms, he might as well resign. Now, that is a typical card played by politicians in basically the Indian subcontinent. When they are not able to control things, they play that card. It is known as the no alternative card, that where will you guys go? This he told to his one of his confidants, the National Citizen Party chief Nahid Islam. Now, he's yet another student who's come into politics during those tumultuous times in 2024 and now holds a bit of influence. The National Citizen Party, the Islamic Chhatr Shibir of Jamaat-e Islami and Hizb ut-Tahrir, they control the streets. They are all radicals under different facades. They are controlling the streets. Now, yesterday, the cabinet or the interim government had a meeting, and Yunus suddenly comes back into his old original form, saying that no resignation. People are pleading with him not to resign. He says he's not going to resign any longer. But what he said is very important. He said it, I'm quoting it, under the instigated or defeated forces or as part of foreign conspiracy, the performance of responsibilities becomes impossible. The government will present all reasons to the public and then take necessary steps with the people, close quote. Now think about it. He is directly appealing to his group which controls the streets, the so-called students, the Islamist groups. He is signaling to them and appealing for street protests. Now, I believe that Bangladesh, the Dhaka, is on the verge of having a few more protests. They are calling for protests. General Wakeruzzaman has also knows this fact that his time is limited. He has to take power, he has to take control, and he has made the first move, to which Yunus has resorted with is going to resort with his street power. Now, street power might control the streets, but can it control the state? Will Wakar win this battle, or will Yunus come back even more stronger? That is the million-dollar question. And given the national security concerns for India, we need to watch out for this space very closely. Thank you and Jai Hind.